Hello, everyone. I hope that you have been having a very nice day. I am Tatiana and I'm the marketing manager at Rate My Apprenticeship. So I am going to be talking you through a little bit about apprenticeships today and a little bit about our platform, Rate My Apprenticeship, and all the ways that we can help students find the perfect apprenticeship. So in case you aren't familiar with Rate My Apprenticeship, we are the leading jobs board for young people seeking apprenticeships in the UK. I will be diving into what we do in a little bit, but first let's take a quick look at the agenda for today's session. So we're going to start with an overview of apprenticeships and their benefits, and then we will take a look at the application process. We'll also dive into some different companies that are offering apprenticeships, so you can have a little think about where you could possibly work. We will then take a look at doing some myth busting and addressing some of the common misconceptions that surround apprenticeships. And then we will finish the session by looking at all the ways that Rate My Apprenticeship can help you secure your perfect apprenticeship. Now, let's kick this off with an overview of apprenticeships. It's really important to have a really basic, at least, understanding of what they are. So starting with, what is an apprenticeship? It's a job that combines practical training along with study, where apprentices are employed from day one. So apprentices work alongside experienced staff, gaining job-specific skills, earning a wage throughout their time and throughout their apprenticeship, and also having some time to study as well. So this usually might look like 1 day a week set aside for the time to study, but this does depend on the company and the apprenticeship that you are doing. And in terms of the number of hours that apprentices work each week, they work 30 hours or more, and 80% of that time is spent at work, on the job, learning on the job, with the other 20% being spent doing off-the-job training. So that might be classes, mentoring, doing skills workshops, and so on. And that would be that 20% of your time. So what are the benefits of doing an apprenticeship? Of course, there are tons of benefits of doing an apprenticeship. I have put on screen for today the top 5 benefits, starting with earning while learning. So this is often found to be one of the most alluring aspects for students who might be considering apprenticeships, because apprentices earn a salary and they do not have to cover the fees for their training. Apprenticeships also allow the apprentice to gain job-specific skills. So one of the main concerns that employers have about university graduates is that they don't always graduate what an employer would consider work ready. So this can be a real advantage for apprentices who spend a minimum of 12 months gaining the skills and knowledge that are most relevant to their job role. All apprenticeships also include formal assessments, which lead to a nationally recognised qualification. So also another key benefit there. They also have fantastic routes for progression. So having so much practical experience often allows apprentices to quite quickly progress through their organisation or industry. And apprentices also have a large support network as well. So there's a wide network there that is there to help you, with your professional development, including colleagues, the training provider, the employer, and usually, you would have your own mentor as well if you do take on an apprenticeship. So here's one quote from one of our reviews on Rate My Apprenticeship, which mentions the type of support that they received during their apprenticeship. So you can see the apprentice has said, "My employer has been very supportive, and given it is one of the biggest accounting firms in the UK, we have a very structured internal training and support system. There is a designated early careers development team whose only job is to help and support the trainees so that they can develop further." And that was an apprentice at Mazars. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the type of support that you might be able to encounter, that you'd hopefully encounter in an apprenticeship. And so according to the data on Rate My Apprenticeship, 97% of students said they would recommend their apprenticeship to a friend. Now, that's absolutely huge. That's a huge majority there of apprentices who've enjoyed their program so much that they said they would recommend it to a friend. So that just gives you an idea of how many benefits there are to doing this development path and taking on this development path, and just how much students have enjoyed it and been pleased with their decision to take on an apprenticeship. Now, I have put on screen here a video from some apprentices that joined in the Rate My Apprenticeship office, and we asked them a little bit about their apprenticeship. So I always think this helps bring it to life a little bit more, being able to hear directly from apprentices themselves. So we're going to watch this short video. It's only about 3 minutes, and then we will carry on through the presentation. So I'm just going to press play on this now. Hopefully the sound will come up okay for all of you watching.
Hi, I'm Maya. I work at Willis Towers Watson. I'm doing marine insurance as a placing broker.
Hi, my name is Abraham Al-Azad. I'm working at Vodafone. I'm doing a degree apprenticeship and I'm in the cybersecurity team.
Hi guys, I'm Connie. I'm a first year apprentice and I work at Mace, which is a construction company, and I'm doing a degree in construction management.
Hi, my name is Jaden. I'm doing a business chartered management course at Visa Europe.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm a business degree management apprentice at L'Oreal.
Hi, my name is Maad and I'm an economist degree apprentice working for the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy.
I think one of the key benefits of doing an apprenticeship is that once you are able to do a degree whilst working at a company, this gives you a better opportunity to land a full-time job. Whereas if you were to take the traditional university pathway, you'd be in a position where there are millions of other people applying for the same role as you. And without the experience at a company or at the corporate world, you wouldn't be able to succeed whilst competing with many other individuals.
You can do different ones, different lengths. So say if you do one for a year, you get to decide after the year if you want to continue doing that role or not. And I feel like it gives you more experience to pick and choose what you do like, what you don't like. So I feel like it's kind of like a checklist, whereas with school, uni, you just done that course and then that's it. So.
My key application tips would be prep. It is so important to prep. You are calmer, you're more confident. It's so much easier to answer a question when they're fired at you when you actually know what you're talking about.
If I could give my past self advice on apprenticeships, I would say to talk and network with everybody you meet at your office or through Teams meetings, because you never know how you may be able to help them in the future or how they may help you. And I would also say to always ask questions, as you're an apprentice at the end of the day and you're there to learn, so no question is ever dumb or stupid.
If I could give my past self some advice about the apprenticeship, is don't give up. Like, I'm being genuine, don't give up, because I did give up and ended up going to uni and then I got the apprenticeship. So don't give up, like keep going. I know it's disheartening because like after every like, no, sorry, we can't, we're not taking you. So it is disheartening, so therefore don't give up and keep trying. And I'd also say from previous apprenticeships you've applied for, you do get to like interview stages, always ask for feedback, because then you can see what it is that if you would have done better, you could have perhaps got that apprenticeship. So therefore always ask for feedback and then chase up if they don't give it to you, but feedback and absolutely don't give up, because somebody will say yes, somebody will say yes. So
what I enjoy most about my company is the fact that you're not just a number. Everyone really cares about each other. It's more of a family. The emerging talent team really invests a lot of time and effort into all their apprentices, which makes you feel valued, it makes you feel cared for, and it makes you feel like there's people there if you need support. So I'm never afraid to ask for help, because I know for a fact that the second I reach out to someone, I will get a response in minutes. What I enjoy most about my apprenticeship is they made me feel really welcome, they were accommodating, they're flexible, and they help with my exam and the exam prep. So I personally think the way that I landed my apprenticeship was I spent a lot of time and put a lot of energy into my application. I made sure to include lots of experience that would benefit me in the role,
The way I secured my apprenticeship was to use platforms such as Rate My Apprenticeship, which advertise lots of apprenticeship. You've got a variety. You can select ones that are close to you. You can select what level. So that was really helpful.
So hopefully that has helped bring it all to life a little bit. You might have seen that there were a range of apprentices there from Visa, L'Oreal, there was also from Vodafone and so on. So hopefully that's really helped give you an idea of the different benefits and why they enjoy their apprenticeship so much. And yeah, hopefully that's been really helpful. So now we can move on to the next part of today's session, which is all about the different options that are available. So I did just want to run through the different apprenticeship levels. Some of these might not be relevant for those of you watching, but it's nice to just have a bit of an overview of what the different levels are. Starting with the first apprenticeship level, which is intermediate apprenticeship. So these are also known as level 2 apprenticeships, and they provide qualifications that are equivalent to 5 GCSE passes. So entry requirements for intermediate apprenticeships, they do vary scheme to scheme, and that is the same for all the apprenticeship levels. It will vary according to the employer and the particular scheme. But most require 2 or more GCSEs or an equivalent qualification such as a traineeship. So that is the first level, and then we can take a look at the level above, which is the level 3 apprenticeship, also known as advanced apprenticeships. So these are one step above the intermediate apprenticeships, and the qualifications are generally considered equivalent to A levels, and they usually last around 24 months. So again, the entry requirements will vary according to the scheme, but often usually what will be needed is 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or having completed an intermediate apprenticeship. Now, next on the apprenticeship ladder, you have the higher apprenticeship, which is often one of the most popular options because they are, usually taken on by students who have just left sixth form. So the average salary for a higher apprenticeship is nearly £24,000 based on the reviews received through Rate My Apprenticeship. This may have changed in the most recent months, but that does give you a bit of an idea of what the average is looking at approximately at the moment for higher apprenticeships. Again, entry requirements will vary and competition for these can get quite intense, but students will usually need at least 2 A levels graded at A star to C, or having an equivalent qualification, or have completed an advanced apprenticeship. And some form of professional experience will also help set candidates apart when applying for a higher apprenticeship. Then finally, the last apprenticeship level on the ladder, which is the degree apprenticeship. So hopefully many of you have now heard about degree apprenticeships, which essentially combine studying towards a bachelor's or a master's degree with paid on-the-job experience. So schemes are currently available in a really wide range of sectors for degree apprenticeships. So, you could now these days you could become a lawyer, a banker through the apprenticeship route. You can also do forensic science or aerospace engineering. There are tons of different options for degree apprenticeships. The entry requirements also vary, again, similar to each of the different levels, but they tend to be similar to traditional university courses. So usually about 3 A levels, A star to C graded, or having the T level equivalent. Most employers do also accept school leavers with lower level apprenticeships and BTEC qualifications as well. Now, the great thing about degree apprenticeships is that you don't pay a penny towards the degree, and you actually can earn a salary on top. So it just makes them such a fantastic alternative for school leavers, and they are gaining popularity all the time and just becoming more and more popular amongst school leavers. So just to recap what we talked about there, those different levels, I have put on screen here the apprenticeship ladder, as we like to refer to it, which has all of those different levels there. So you can see how it starts with the intermediate apprenticeship, and each one leads as a sort of stepping stone to the next until you have the degree apprenticeships there at the top. So what about the application process? How can you actually go on to secure an apprenticeship? What application stages are you going to encounter? Now let's take a look. So I have put on screen here an example application process that you might encounter when applying to an apprenticeship. The application process will vary according to the employer. It will be up to them to decide what application stages they have included for potential candidates. But this is just an example one, which incorporates all of the different stages that tend to come up in different apprenticeship applications. So starting with application forms. So this is always going to be the first step to applying, which includes, filling in your personal details, education and work experience. And there might be some questions around, your strengths and your interests as well. Some key tips for the application form is to make sure that you spell check. So you can maybe write it in Microsoft Word or something similar that has spell check on it, and then copy and paste that into the form. And you can also try to match your responses with the job's desired skills as well. Of course, you can also save a copy for future application forms just to save you a bit of time for the next ones. You might have to tailor it each time a little bit, but at least it will give you a nice blueprint to save you a bit of time for the next applications. Then there is the CV. So hopefully you're all relatively familiar with what a CV is. Like any job, a CV is really important to securing an apprenticeship. This often does need to be tailored to the particular job description for the best chance of success. We do have CV templates and tips on our website or in the toolkit that is linked up above. So hopefully you'll be able to get these slides after your session, or you can always request them by emailing Rate My Apprenticeship and we can send you the toolkit. It's also available on our website as well. And this will have tons of templates, tips and hacks for each of these application stages. Some other tips for a CV is just to keep it less than 2 sides of A4 as well, so 1 to 2 sides max, and list experience in reverse chronological order. So if you do have some professional work experience, you can put the most recent experience at the top. And you also don't need to over design it either. So you don't need to make a really elaborate design for your CV, unless you're applying for something like graphic design or something where your design skills are really relevant to show. You don't need to spend a huge amount of time with an intricate design for the CV, because sometimes, recruiters do actually put this through a machine that can get it a little bit jumbled if it has been very sort of over designed. So you can keep it quite simple in terms of the design and the layout. Now, a cover letter, you might have to provide a cover letter during the apprenticeship application, but it's not all employers do require one. But it is essentially a cover letter is your one page to say, why you want the apprenticeship and why you're the right fit for it. Some tips, there's lots of tips here on the screen, but some tips, worth mentioning in particular for today's presentation includes, keeping the cover letter to one side of A4, tailoring the content to the specific role that you're applying to. Make sure that you are honest in your cover letter as well, because you don't want to get caught out at a later stage. You always want to triple check, spelling and grammar. It seems quite an obvious one, but you would be surprised by how many candidates do sometimes forget to spell check, and that unfortunately can have a negative impact on your application. So make sure to do that. And you can always end the cover letter by expressing your enthusiasm for attending an interview as well. Then we have on screen here psychometric tests. Again, you may not encounter this during any of the apprenticeship applications that you do, but some employers do ask potential candidates to do some psychometric tests, which are there to measure, a student's suitability for the apprenticeship based on their skills, their knowledge, and just their overall personality. So really my biggest tip for a psychometric test is just to do some practice tests beforehand, just to really get acquainted with, how they work and the types of sort of questions that you'll encounter during them, just to allow yourself to get a bit more comfortable with doing psychometric tests. We do have example psychometric tests as well on our website that you can do as well. And don't worry about getting all of the questions right in a psychometric test, because only about 1 to 2% of testers actually get that all right. Next is the interview. So if you have secured an interview, that's a very good sign. Hopefully it means that you are very nearly at the end of your application for the apprenticeship. The interview might be face-to-face or it might be online. You know, some key tips really for the interview is, you know, make sure to read the job description carefully. And, you know, maybe prepare some examples beforehand of, you know, times that you've used or showcase the skills that they've asked for on the job description. So if they are looking for someone with, you know, if the job description, they're looking for someone who is passionate or has a lot of initiative or has great communication, you know, maybe prepare some examples beforehand of times that you've displayed those skills, because it might be that they'll ask you about that in the interview. Take your time answering as well. You don't need to rush through your answers in an interview, and you can also use the STAR technique too. You might not be familiar with the STAR technique. There's a lot more information on that on our website and of course everywhere online as well. But the STAR technique is essentially just a particular method of responding to questions, which allows you to elaborate your answers really well and provide a really good amount of context for the one that is interviewing you. And so that you are ensure that you also talk through the whole situation, how you acted, what your action was, and what the result was. So it stands for, the STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result. But again, there are more information about that on our website. You can also prepare some questions ahead of time. I always recommend this in an interview. Just make sure that you do a bit of research on the company beforehand and arm yourself with a couple of questions to ask at the end of an interview as well. And then just the final stage that you might encounter or you might not, which is the assessment center. So this is a day of tasks and activities that is usually hosted at the company's office, or it might be hosted online. So you can expect things like icebreaker exercises, group projects, maybe presentations, and maybe you'll have a one-to-one interview during the assessment center as well. So some key tips is make sure to plan your journey the day before. If it is going to be in person, make sure you plan your journey so that you're not going to accidentally arrive a bit late. You know, give yourself a little bit of extra time just in case of any travel delays. And make sure to ask questions if you don't understand the task that they've set you. And also feel free to get involved and really talk to the other students and talk to the employees. And you know, the company will often be looking at who might be a good fit for the company culture as well. So don't be afraid to get involved and talk to the other people that are there. So hopefully that has given you a bit more of an understanding of the application process. And now we can take a look at where you can work. So this is always so exciting. It's, you know, looking at all of the amazing companies that are offering apprenticeships and all of the potential companies that you could actually work for. So on screen here, you can see the best 100 apprenticeship employers for 2023-2024. So this is based on the reviews that were left on Rate My Apprenticeship from previous apprentices. So all of these list of companies are those that came up the highest rated by apprentices within the last year. So these are the best apprenticeship employers to work for according to other apprentices. And you can see that the top rated was for this year was Savills. And then you can also see tons of other amazing companies that made it into our best 100 as well. So McDonald's is in there, NHS, you've got Channel 4, BDO, HSBC, Vodafone, tons of amazing companies that are offering apprenticeships. So you can find out more information about them on our website. You can read reviews about them from other apprentices, and it just really helps you find out where might be a great place to work and do an apprenticeship. So that's definitely something that I would encourage you to find out more about on our website. Now on to our next part of the session, which is Get Your Facts Straight, which is where we're going to do a little bit of myth busting. There are definitely some misconceptions that surround apprenticeships. They have been around for a long time and they've developed more and more over the years. So I always think it's important to address some of the, slightly common myths that you might encounter around apprenticeships. Starting with the myth that apprenticeships are just for tradespeople, which is absolutely false. As you saw with that huge range of companies that was on screen just before, there are apprenticeships in tons and tons of different sectors. So though apprenticeships were traditionally associated with industries like construction, electrical and plumbing, now there are hundreds of different career paths you can go down by doing an apprenticeship, including nursing, digital marketing, even beekeeping as well. There are so many different options with this development path. And actually many of England's sort of biggest and best companies like PwC and AstraZeneca and all these amazing companies that operate in the UK now hire apprentices straight out of school. So some amazing companies you can work for, again, as we just saw on that slide before as well. On to the next misconception, which is that you have to go to university to get a degree. And this is also absolutely false. So as we did talk about earlier, you can gain a bachelor's or a master's degree by completing a degree apprenticeship. So just as an example, the BBC, for instance, offers degree apprenticeships in their media department. You can do an apprenticeship with KPMG now, degree apprenticeship with them and other accountancy firms. You can become a lawyer or a banker, as I mentioned earlier as well, all by taking on a degree apprenticeship. So many employers are actually latching on to the degree apprenticeship route at the moment because it's such a great development path and there's becoming more and more popular amongst school leavers as well as an alternative to university. And then on to our next misconception, which is that university is the best route for high achievers. And this is also false. So actually now these days, more and more A-grade students are choosing the apprenticeship route because of its progression, a route for progression. So organizations that offer the most sought after graduate schemes now also offer apprenticeships. So students who would usually go on to university and then apply for a graduate scheme are actually starting work immediately with these top employers straight out of school, after they've left and finished their A-levels. So employers are giving high achieving students the chance to start a career earlier than traditional university graduates. Another key myth is that it's easier to get into university than an apprenticeship, and this is also false. So actually apprenticeships can be quite competitive and they do involve a series of application stages to secure, as we did talk about during the segment around the application process. So there are several different stages in order to secure an apprenticeship. So it doesn't mean that it is necessarily easier to get into than a university. In terms of how competitive the apprenticeship is going to be to get into, it really depends on the scheme and it really depends on the employer. So it really is, I would always recommend applying to a range of apprenticeships with a range of employers to give yourself the best chance of success of securing an apprenticeship that you're happy with. And then just the final myth that I did want to mention for today, which is apprentices are financially worse off than graduates. And this is also false. And actually a recent survey that has been released showed that apprentices actually earn up to £7,000 more in their 20s than graduates who have left university. And that's really because, apprentices do often start sort of earlier than university graduates in the career world. They have amazing routes for progression, and apprentices do have that ability to sort of progress through their company or their industry relatively quickly. So there's actually, it doesn't mean that doing an apprenticeship will earn you less money in your 20s than being a university graduate. So I thought that was a really relevant and important myth to debunk as well. Debunk as well. Now we can talk about how to find an apprenticeship. So we've talked about the benefits, the application process, where you could work, so many amazing things we've talked through in this session. And now let's take a look at how you can actually find an apprenticeship. So of course, you can go looking on employer websites. If you have a company in mind that you want to work for, you can go on their website and see what opportunities they're offering and see if they're offering any apprenticeships that you might be interested in. There are also events that happen throughout the year that you can also visit, such as What Career Live or the National Apprenticeship Shows. Those types of events happen year round across the UK, and you can actually visit those events to meet employers face to face and talk to them about their different schemes. And of course, you can use online job sites such as Rate My Apprenticeship, which leads us very nicely into who we are and what we do. So Rate My Apprenticeship we do like to consider ourselves as the sort of TripAdvisor for apprenticeships. And that's because we have so many apprentices that have left reviews on their apprenticeship to provide an insight to other students who might be applying, and provide an insight into what it was actually like doing an apprenticeship for that company. Did they enjoy it? Would they recommend it? What was the support like? And so on. So tons of insights you can get by reading the reviews on our website. We also offer jobs as well. We are very much a jobs board, and we have tons of advice articles too. So I'm going to chat through in a little bit more detail on each one of these. We've of course looked at the sort of reviews, and I've mentioned just about that now, but you can see on the right hand side there's a screenshot there of the reviews on our website. So you can see you'll get a list of all the reviews, and you can read reviews on different companies, different industries, and there we do ask apprentices to rate and review tons of different aspects of the apprenticeship scheme. So I would really recommend having a look through them, especially if you have a company in mind that you might want to work for, or I would always recommend having a look at the reviews and seeing what other apprentices have said. We do have tons and tons of advice on our website. So if you want to have more information on the application process, if you want to find out more about, what are your different career options, or read our industry guides, you can find that all on the website. So there's, tips and tricks for all of the application stages to really help guide you through the process and help you find, hopefully, the best apprenticeship that you can. And as I mentioned, we are very much a jobs board. So you can actually search and apply directly to apprenticeships via our website. You can use the filters on the left-hand side to filter by industry, employer, apprenticeship level and location, and so on, to find the apprenticeships that are available and most relevant to you and most suitable to what you're looking for. So definitely, I would recommend having a look through the website when you can, if you are thinking about doing an apprenticeship, and start having a browse of the live roles available. I have put on screen here a QR code so that you can create a free account on Rate My Apprenticeship. I always recommend students to create a free account if you are even considering possibly doing an apprenticeship. Creating a free account just means that if you tell us what you might be interested in, what industries, what levels, and so on, we will actually send you targeted job alerts to your inbox so that you can see what's available in the sort of industry that you're looking in, and so on. So you can always unsubscribe if you find that you don't need the job alerts anymore. You can stop receiving them straight through inbox as easy as you want. But I would definitely recommend making that free account. It just means that you don't have to keep going back onto the website regularly to see what new roles are available. You'll actually get emailed with the relevant ones straight away. And then you can submit your application if you want. So hopefully that's given you enough time to scan that QR code. And just the last thing I did want to mention for today's session, which is our guide to career options. So every year we do release our guide, which is absolutely full to the brim with tons of application advice, your information on your different career options, and some example psychometric tests, and also includes our best 100 apprenticeship employers for 2023-2024. So we do send 5 copies of our guide to every school and college in the UK. So you can hopefully find a copy in your careers department, your school's careers department. Otherwise, you can also find the online version on our website. So if you just go onto the advice hub on Rate My Apprenticeship, you will find the career a guide to career options on there. And what would any presentation be without a shameless plug for our Instagram and TikTok accounts? So we are very active on social. We do tons of giveaways. We provide tons of application advice and showcase lots of day in the life stories of apprentices and lots of more amazing kind of content on our social media. So if you want to give us a follow, our handle is at Rate My Apprenticeship, which is on Instagram and TikTok. And hopefully you'll find some amazing videos from other apprentices and things like that to help inspire you in your journey. And that's it for today. So hopefully that has been really helpful and insightful. If you do have any questions for Rate My Apprenticeship, you can go on our website and submit an inquiry, and I will be able to help answer some of your questions, myself or one of my colleagues. So please always get in touch if you do have any questions about anything that has been discussed. You can also request a copy of these slides from your school, hopefully, or if not, you can always contact Rate My Apprenticeship as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.